Just gonna keep going with EOG review. We've got 18 school days between now and the EOG. So there are 80 students in the 6th grade at a middle school. 55% of these students are girls. How many of the 6th graders are boys? David, what you got? 44 is incorrect. Gray. 36 is correct. So there's two ways you can look at a problem like this. What you have is you have a percentage problem, so we're going to have 100 on the bottom right. 100's everything, the whole, the total. And the total amount of students is 80. Okay? So you got two options. Option 1 is to subtract at the end. Option 2 is to subtract at the beginning. So I'll show you each way. If we subtract at the end, we use the 55%. The 55% is the number of girls. What that means is when we do the math, it's going to give us the number of girls because the labels need to match. So when you do that, you do 80 times 55 divided by 100. That's where you get the 44. Okay? But it's 44 girls. So you subtract 80 minus 44. That equals 36. And that'd be your answer. Another way you could do this is to subtract at the beginning. Since you're trying to find the number of boys, if you subtract the percentage of the girls from 100, that'll give you the percentage of boys. So if we take 100 and we subtract the 55% for the girls, that tells us that 45% are boys. And then we use that 45 there, and now we got the boys' number. So 80 times 45 divided by 100 gives you 36. So either way, you get 36 as an answer. It's just a matter of whether you subtract the beginning or the end. Personally, I like subtracting at the beginning first. Two reasons. One, if you do it first, you don't forget to do it at the end, because one of the answer choices is probably 44. The other reason is, since you're subtracting from 100 each time, really easier numbers to work with. I mean, with a calculator, that doesn't make a huge difference, but, you know, still. Any questions on that? So, a little tricky. All right, find the surface area of the rectangular prism. Jeremiah, what you got? 202 is correct. All right, so the way I showed this to you before is we're making pairs. So if we number, just count, like we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6 rectangles on the rectangular prism. The reason I numbered it that way is 1 matches with 2, 3 matches with 4, 5 matches with 6. They're the same. Remember, if we fold it up, we got a front and a back that match, a left and a right, a top and a bottom. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to make pairs with our numbers. I've phrased it as like introducing ourselves, right? So we'd have 9 times 4, that's 36. 9 times 5, that's 45. And 4 times 5, and that's 20. Okay? So paired up each of the numbers, and we're going to add those up. So when we add those together, that's going to equal 101. That's only 3 rectangles, though. Like we said, there's 6. Each one has a match. So we multiply it by 2, and that gives us our 202. The other thing you could do before you add, you could multiply each of these by 2. That'd be 72, that'd be 90, that'd be 40, and then we add them up there. That would give you 202. I think it's easier just to multiply once. You still end up adding the same amount of times, but... Any questions on that? So you make pairs, add them up, and then double it. Multiply by 2. All right, Joe's buying some apples. Find the price of 8 apples. Sydney, what you got? $5.12 is correct. This is a problem that gives you 3 numbers. Not all the time, but a lot of times when you get a word problem with 3 numbers, you can usually do a proportion. So what we have is $7.68 for 12 apples. So if I label those, we got money, we got apples. On the other side, we're trying to figure out how much he's paying, so we're trying to find the money for 8 apples. So 8 times 768 divided by 12, give you $5.12, like she said. There are other ways you could do that, but with those types of problems, the proportions will work pretty consistently for you. You just got to make sure labels match. Any questions on that? All right, find the area of the trapezoid. They very much like putting trapezoids on your EOG, and then the main reason is because they can make them look a little weird. Sarah E., what you got? Yeah, 152 is correct. All right, so you add the bases. Base on the top's easy. That's 16. What's my bottom base? 22. You got to remember, this part here is 16, and then there's the 6, so 16 plus 6 is going to give us 22. We add those up, we get 38. We divide by 2. 38 divided by 2 is 19. And then you multiply that by the height, 19 times 8. Going to give you 152, like she said. Any questions on that? As I said, trapezoid's about one of those things I could probably bet money that you would see a trapezoid. Usually it's with some of the numbers kind of missing, where you got to figure out like, oh, that's 16 up here, that's got to be 16 down there. So you got to kind of match things up that way. Find the surface area for the square pyramid. Ford, what you got? 95. 95 is correct. All right, so we got 4 triangles and a square. They like square pyramids. They usually like them with decimals on them, though. Okay? So good chance you see one with decimals also. When it's calculator active, it doesn't really make a difference, though. It's still doing the same thing. I'll start with the square. How do you find the area of a square? Length times width, base times height, whatever. Either way, it's the same number. So in this case, it's 5 times 5. That's 25. That is the part it seems most middle schoolers are most likely to forget. For whatever reason, we do the triangles and forget about the square. Square even and forget to add it back on. So don't forget about the square. So now we do the triangles. How do you find the area of a triangle? Base times height divided by 2. So we got 5 times 7 divided by 2. 5 times 7 is 35. 5 divided by 2 is 17.5. Okay? How many triangles are there? 4. So you could add that up repeatedly or, again, with a calculator. You could just multiply that. When you multiply that, you get 70. And then like I said, you just add it together. The 4 triangles plus the square, 70 plus 25, gives us that 95. Okay? Any questions on that?